Yes, everyone, that time. Hello, welcome to the final cut in our little sliver of the internet. Independent films is a global phenomenon. We get independent from all over the world, and I love looking at creations from other countries. And I've got one for you today that really surprised me, and it was Manhattan Zodiac 77. It's brought to us by Hedwig Shrek. And we get the story of a striker who is a detective who's investigating a series of murders being carried out by an individual the press has deemed the Manhattan Zodiac killer. Why? Well, he's going out and targeting young women and killing them in mean and nasty ways. And yeah, Stryker is really at his wits' end trying to track this killer down. Meanwhile, the killer has two young women in his sights as his next victims, Eva and Emily. And we see how this triangle of characters end up crossing paths, meeting one another, and who does survive and who doesn't, and will Stryker be able to get to the killer before he gets to the young ladies? This is done in the grindhouse style, and there's very few films I've seen that have captured the look and feel so accurately. It accomplishes what it sets out to do. This feels so much like a lost film from '77. The grain, the visuals, the use of stock footage, all of it just felt really gritty and grimy, and something that was filmed on various hundreds and stock footage by someone who was just trying to make a horror serial killer film. Now, with that aesthetic, that may not be your cup of tea, because there are some extraordinarily dark scenes and some scenes that are hard to tell what's going on. But if you've consumed enough of these types of films, there are a number of films like that out there where the aesthetics really are kind of hard to see due to budget. So, man, the visual aesthetic of a '77 serial killer, true crime, underground cinema film, they nail it with this grindhouse send-up movie. I loved it. Now the performances, everybody as well, just feels like they were ripped from that time period. Stryker is played by Jurgen Raffin, and wow, this guy, you feel for this. He's such like a noir detective, embodying that whole thing of just not by the books. This guy who's just exhausted and just wants this killer to either die or be able to capture him so he could finally get some sleep. The killer is played by Henry Stewart. Wow, this had to be a tough role to play. He plays a very disturbing individual who does some very disturbing things. And this is where that dark light actually comes into play, because you can't always tell exactly what the killer is doing. So it leaves it to your imagination, which usually tends to be a little bit worse if you've consumed a lot of horror or true crime films. Now, Eva is played by Greta Krause, and Emily is played by Anja Bell, and these two play off each other well. They feel like friends. You don't want them to become victims. One of them has a very interesting lifestyle, but they seem to roll with it. The character, they're like, okay, they're still their best friends, and you really don't want the killer to catch up with them. You feel for them. But seriously, folks, I have seen very few modern films that have so embodied the old school, even the sets and the costuming. There's not a cell phone in sight, and using a lot of the old school stock footage from that period really helps avoid some of those pitfalls that doing a period piece can run into, like, say, more modern electronic devices and signs and such. No, it really helped with the set design and the costuming sell the period this film is supposed to be from. And yeah, I am very impressed by it. But the only thing that stood out for me was, I kind of wish, and this will sound weird because usually audio is where you want it more clear, but here I would have liked maybe a little bit more play with the audio, though I do know that they were still working on some bits with this film, but maybe just a little bit of a hiss more in it. But overall, yeah, check it out if you can. I'll put as much information as I can down below. Manhattan Zodiac 77. You looking for one of those homage grindhouse type films. This one really feels like it was a lost film from the period it came from. So there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out our Patreon if you haven't already. Like, subscribe here. Help us get over 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year. Can only do that with your support, so I thank you very much. And until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub